The state of Arkansas executes its first inmate in 12 years. We'll show the fighting people to save these inmates' lives.
Also, tragedy struck the National Football League this week. We'll have more in sports.
And the Hills are alive with the sound of music. Find out which musical opens this weekend at the Seville Theater.
Finally, it's going to be warmer this weekend. Get ready to break out your swimsuits later on in weather. Newscene starts right now.
Thank you so much for joining us on Newscene. I'm Billy Kay.
And I'm Marissa Gonzalez.
Happening right now at the border, nearly 100 protesters, including clergy, showed up at the San Ysidro port of entry this morning to protest the construction of the border walls. This coincides with the visit of Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Some of the protesters say that people from other parts of the country need to understand life along the border.
The reason why I'm here is because we are these communities. These are not only neighbors, but they are our brothers, they're our sisters, they're our mothers, our fathers, our friends. And an injustice to one, just like Martin Luther King said, is an injustice to all.
Locally, protesters are trying to get more community organizations to join forces. By doing so, they believe that their voices will be heard from here to Washington.
A terrorist organization claims responsibility to the Paris attack on the Champs-Élysées. The suspect, who was shot dead on the scene, was under surveillance and labeled extremely dangerous by the French Domestic Security Service. Previously, in 2001, he was arrested for shooting multiple officers. Within 24 hours of the attack that happened Thursday, ISIS issued a statement saying an Islamic State fighter carried out the attack. The ISIS claim came from their very own media branch. Currently, anti-terrorist forces are searching the man's residence to find if he had any accomplices.
Protesters against the death penalty gathered outside the Arkansas governor's mansion, hoping Letta Lee's life would be spared. More than 40 protesters with Arkansas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty held signs along with a candlelight vigil for Lee. Most arrived outside the governor's mansion around 5:30, some waiting around until the very end for an outcome, sparing his life. Now the group says that they will be out in front of the governor's mansion protesting the upcoming remaining scheduled executions.
Online slander and trolling is nothing new on the internet, but as Vince Vangela will show you, the best way to fight the darkness is to shine a light on it. Vince?
Thank you, Marissa. In a story first broken by the San Diego Free Press, we learned that 14 San Diego journalists were attacked on scam revenge sites like PredatorsWatch.com and many others. 2 journalists from the San Diego Reader, 3 from NBC Channel 7, 4 from the Union Tribune, and a total of 7 student journalists from the Southwestern College Sun had their names and reputations dragged through the online mud. At the Southwestern College Sun, editor-in-chief Mirela Lopez receives an email from the address blackcube@cyberservices.com. It wants her to remove a 2012 story about the Proposition R bidding corruption, or else. At first, she thought it was just spam.
Later that same evening, I received a text message from a former reporter from the Sun stating that he found a report with his name, my name, and the name of the other reporter who wrote the article.
This was no joke. The threats were becoming promises for the staff of the Southwestern Sun. Meanwhile, it was different for Barbara Zaragoza, another local journalist, who found out through a Google alert and not a direct threat. Still very unsettling, the pros weren't as concerned with themselves as much as they were about their student colleagues.
This is the beginning of their careers. They're trying to do a good thing. I mean, that's when we just absolutely went off. We were so angry.
This is how the site works. PredatorsWatch.com allows anonymous users to falsely post about somebody being a child pornographer. Included in that post, easily attainable and identifiable information about the victim, like email addresses, work phone numbers, and any profile pictures already online. These sites have amazing search engine recognition, so once the victim sees the fake post and wants it taken down, they are referred to so-called third-party arbitrators like InternetReputation.com. You don't have to watch a lot of gangster movies to see what's going on here. The victim is then encouraged to pay $1,200 for the post to be taken down in about 2 weeks' time. At the time of this report, and almost 4 weeks after the first post appeared, these journalists are still fighting for their reputation. Now, victims have contacted their local Society of Professional Journalists chapter, and they've reported the incident to the FBI. According to the San Diego District Attorney's Office, this is considered at most a civil case. That's because of the legal loophole that lets these websites extort money from anybody named on their pages. And we're going to get into that part of the story next week. We're going to show you the legal side of this and provide an update on our victims. Until then, back to you, Billy and Marissa at the desk.
Well, thank you so much for that, Vince. The first known dreamer to be deported under the Trump administration is suing the government and filed paperwork in San Diego. 23-year-old Juan Montes says that he was stopped in February by the border agents in Calexico at a taxi stop and sent back to Mexico. But Montes was protected by President Obama's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or the DACA program at the time. His lawyers want the government to release the details behind his deportation.
A U.S. Army veteran who was deported to Mexico has hope to come back home. Governor Jerry Brown's pardon has given faith to veteran Hector Barajas. Barajas was deported to Mexico after serving less than 2 years in prison.
I've always taken responsibility for putting myself there, but I went to jail and I paid, I went to prison for it, and then I got deported. So I paid long and hard for it, and I finally had the opportunity to maybe become an American citizen.
It was hard for Barajas to live in another country, being aware that he and others were facing the same issue. He decided to act. Barajas runs a shelter called Deported Veterans Support House, also known as The Bunker, where for the past 5 years he has been helping deported veterans. Barajas' next step is to open a second shelter in Ciudad Juarez and face immigration, awaiting if he will be granted citizenship.
And Adidas is apologizing tonight after sending an email congratulating runners who, quote, survived the Boston Marathon. The message received a lot of backlash given the history of the race, where 3 people were killed and nearly over 300 others were injured during the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013. Adidas said that it is incredibly sorry for the insensitive subject line regarding one of the most inspirational sporting events in the world, and adds that every year we're reminded of the hope and resiliency of the running community at this event.
Top-rated cable host Bill O'Reilly is finally out of Fox News after receiving millions of dollars in payout fees. This comes after 13 years of sexual harassment allegations. Here's Christian Gomez with more on the story.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly.
Sexual assault allegations against Bill O'Reilly began more than 10 years ago. Investigations from Fox confirmed these allegations against O'Reilly to be true and agreed not to further produce his news program. O'Reilly, being on vacation, just signed a $2 million contract to keep his show going. However, the long-running allegations crept up on him. Andrea Markins, a former associate producer from The O'Reilly Factor, accused him of sexually and verbally harassing her over the phone. After this conversation, she said,
"The last time that I had spoken to Bill, and when this inappropriate conversation had happened the last time, he had said it was going to be in person. And I felt extremely threatened for many reasons."
O'Reilly quickly responded with this remark about the accusation.
This is the single most evil thing I have ever experienced.
In 2016, several women came forward to report allegations of sexual harassment against O'Reilly after similar accusations were made against Fox's News founder Roger Ailes. A total of $13 million will be paid to O'Reilly in settlements between himself and the woman who accused him, ending in a fierce reaction from advertisers. And since then, more than 50 advertisers have pulled out from his show. And that is where the Goliath of news ends his reign. Christian Gomez, Newscene.
O'Reilly is taking a step back from news and has issued the statement, quote, "It is tremendously disheartening that we part ways due to completely unfounded claims, but that is the unfortunate reality many of us in the public eye must live with today."
And controversy has struck San Diego State University. We'll have more on what happened at the Mesa. Newscene will have the latest.
And find out which NBA player made a blockbuster play in sports coming up next.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. give up. Go back to the Dome Star. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
In a 4-1 vote, the city of Del Mar banned short-term rentals in residential areas this week. Supporters of the short-term rentals packed into the city council chambers. Each person was allowed 3 minutes of public testimony. The majority of the speakers spoke in favor of vacation rentals. Terry Sinnott, the mayor of Del Mar, was the only dissenting vote.
This week, a jury found Petco not liable in the death of 10-year-old Aiden Pankey. Aiden died from a rare strain of bacteria known as rat bite fever. This bacteria was carried by his pet rat bought at a San Diego area pet store. His family was sad at the verdict, but positive about bringing awareness to the rare condition.
San Diego State has recently been faced with controversy and outrage over the school's mascot. This week, students rallied around campus as a show of solidarity and used the hashtag #NotMyMascot.
On Wednesday, SDSU's Student Council met to vote on whether or not the school should drop the Aztec name. The council meeting finished with a decision to keep the mascot. The vote was 12-14.
And major headlines in sports this week. Here, Matthew Powers has more and the latest.
Thank you, Billy. This week, a troubled former pro football player serving life in prison put an abrupt end to his own life. Former tight end and convicted murderer Aaron Hernandez was found dead hanging in his cell just days ago. Here's a look at the rise and fall of a plagued young man who had superstardom in the grasp of his hands.
Hernandez was constantly finding himself mixed in with the wrong crowds, according to the people around him. Hernandez's father passed when he was just 16 years old from complications following a surgery. While becoming extremely insubordinate with authorities, the football star was also setting records for receiving yards and touchdowns at his high school in Bristol, Connecticut. Hernandez took his talents to the University of Florida, becoming an All-American national champion while also maintaining his rebellious reputation for marijuana use, guns, and gangs. After being passed up by just about every team in the NFL, the New England Patriots decided to roll the dice on him with the 113th pick in the 2010 NFL Draft. Aaron Hernandez became the youngest player on an active roster at just 20 years old and also an instant success, which led to a monstrous $40 million contract.
It's a lifelong dream and still kind of surreal, but take it in over the next few days, months, years, and just it's a blessing, and hopefully I make the right decisions with it and have a good life.
Not even a year later, Hernandez was being accused of 3 murders. Hernandez was accused of gunning down 2 men in 2012 outside of a Boston nightclub. The other murder took place the following year in June 2013, where Hernandez was found guilty for shooting semi-pro football player Odin Lloyd. Hernandez has been serving a life sentence without parole ever since. Creating headlines in the news once again, Hernandez was officially cleared on the 2 counts of murder that took place in 2012. Tragically, on Wednesday morning at 3 a.m., Hernandez was discovered hanging in his cell. Sheriff Tom Hodgkins goes over his possible mind state.
Perhaps the thing that maybe contributed to the outcome today was maybe the verdict that came down from the jury. That it was something that perhaps he didn't expect, that there were people who had actually found him not guilty of something he was accused of. Maybe he believed he did or didn't do, who knows.
Ironically, on the same day, the New England Patriots were scheduled to meet at the White House for their 2016 Super Bowl championship. And now with some NBA playoff coverage, the first round of the 2017 NBA playoffs is in full swing. The Warriors and my Chicago Bulls are undefeated thus far in the playoffs at 2-0. The Bulls play tonight on ESPN against the Celtics at home in Chicago. And now for our game of the week, we go to the third and final undefeated team in the playoffs, the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pacers got off to a quick start here, going up 40-32. We have Paul George getting the ball and then passes it to Miles Turner. Shanks it off the front of the rim. Miles Turner gets his own board and throws it down real hard. Let's check that out again. A monstrous slam by Turner, the center for the Pacers. Then we have Lance Stevenson throws it up. Paul George with the flush on the alley-oop. James gets it going in the third, starts to narrow the lead, gets some threes going for once. He eventually gets it to the outside, puts up another 3, brings it within 5 points, 89-84. Paul George gets stripped, going down in transition. LeBron James does what he does best, throws it down, looking good. And then finally finishes off, pushes him off, and then he gets up a step back 3 with the flush. And then to put the game away, we have Channing Frye with it out, and then with the 3 to finish it. The Cavaliers ended up taking this one 119 to 114, but that's about all we have today in sports. Thank you. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, Matt. And SeaWorld unexpectedly lost a beloved polar bear earlier this week. Cynthia, the 21-year-old polar bear, was seen by an estimated 50 million visitors during her 2 decades at the exhibit. PETA's chimed in, claiming that separation from a longtime companion, Snowflake, back in February is to blame.
The long-running summer fireworks tradition at SeaWorld is on a hiatus. Park officials are denying claims that the decision came after a local petition circulated to put a stop to the fireworks. They will still continue on 3-day weekends and holidays during the summer. Instead, they will be adding a new bioluminescent-like lighting experience show at night.
And in the digital age, is there such thing as privacy on the internet anymore? Stay tuned for Tech Minute.
It's harder whenever there's a bigger group. Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked. Thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Welcome back to Newscene, and we would like to congratulate our own Guadalupe Venegas. Amidst tough competition, Guadalupe was named the anchor for the new Telemundo station to be opened in San Diego. The locally produced and live newscast will provide audiences in the San Diego and Baja California area the local news, weather, and sports. Guadalupe and the rest of his news team will debut in July of this year. A lot of exciting news and events in the world of entertainment, from flower children to headbangers and Chicanos. Shaylin Martos has your entertainment report for this week.
Thanks, Marissa. So if you're looking for some entertainment this weekend, then look no further than City College's own rendition of Chicago.
Set in the backdrop of the Prohibition era, Chicago is an award-winning musical filled with murder, mystery, and love.
This is the musical Chicago by John Kander and Fred Ebb and Bob Fosse. This is the City College spring musical. I love this show. I actually have been involved with a couple of productions of it. One of the last musicals I was in as a performer was Chicago, 20 years ago at UC Santa Barbara. And it's been one that's been very much a part of my life for a long time. It's got great songs. I remember doing a dance combination to Razzle Dazzle when I was in high school, and so it's been sort of on the back of my mind all along, and when it came time to select a musical for the spring, I just kind of landed on it. We're kind of doing shows that sort of, not so much Chicago, but shows that sort of resonate with our City College students. So I want to do things that speak to our student body and that represent us very nicely. Now, Chicago admittedly does not necessarily, it's not our demographic necessarily, but it also has a big audience appeal. I'm so proud of the work that the students have done. You know, our students are juggling work and family, and many of them are on public transportation, and the commitment they have shown to this show has been phenomenal.
Chicago opens this weekend as well as next weekend at the Seville Theater. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. And for those who want to buy a copy of the performance, you can do so by contacting Professor Rhoda at her email on the City College website.
Professor Rada told me that the cast of Chicago comprised of not just students from the theater department, but from the dance department as well. And grab your flower crowns and camping gear and make sure not to lose your wristband. Weekend 2 of Coachella opens today in Indio. Young people across California are flocking to the Desert Festival to see their favorite artists, with star headliners Radiohead, Lady Gaga, and even Kendrick Lamar. Here's the schedule for the weekend. There are a couple conflicts, so if you're spending the weekend in Indio, you're going to have to schedule your time accordingly to see all of your favorites. So have a great time at the festival, everyone, and make sure to drink lots of water. And this Saturday celebrates the 47th anniversary for San Diego's Chicano Park. Mexican music, Azteca dance, and a lowrider show are just some of the things you can expect at this year's Chicano Park Festival. The family-friendly event kicks off at 10 a.m. and goes until 5 p.m. This year's theme is Chunky Sanchez, El Corazón de Pueblo. Chunky Sanchez is a legend in the Chicano rights movement. He also helped create the Chicano Studies Department right here at City College. Well, thank you so much. This is all the time I have for entertainment this week. Have a wonderful weekend, do fun things, and back to you two at the desk.
And the killer who shot a man then posted it on Facebook Live was found dead earlier this week. Before the Facebook killer's car chase and eventual suicide, Steve Stevens was spotted ordering food through a McDonald's drive-thru in Erie, Pennsylvania. A McDonald's employee recognized Stevens after seeing TV bulletins about the nationwide manhunt for him, and immediately the staff stalled the killer's order and dialed 911. The Facebook killer began getting impatient and ended up leaving the drive-thru without his fries. Police arrived just as he was leaving and began chasing him for the next 2 miles until Stevens took his own life before his capture.
2 weeks ago, President Trump signed a bill that is already affecting internet users all over the U.S. Here's Jack D'Amicis with the story.
Before the legislation was signed into effect, internet service providers were required to get written consent before selling or sharing our internet data. With the new bill, SJ Res 34, users will have no say of who can see or purchase their data. A lot of users are left asking what they can do to protect or hide their information. Tor, a popular browser of the darknet, has been a topic of discussion at times, but not quite as much as virtual private networks, commonly known as VPNs. Ours establishes a secure connection between computer A and computer B. If someone wanted to view the data traveling on the network, they need the encryption key that's on the other end to read the data. A corporation can set up a VPN so their employees can work from home but are not limited to where they are. For example, if you try to watch a movie on YouTube and it says not available in your area, you can use a VPN to pull up that video. So in other words, VPNs not only allow you to access what you need from any location, but allow you to securely surf the web. Jack D'Amicis, Tech Minute.
And temperatures are on the rise this weekend. Find out how far they'll go in weather.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning. 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash? 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
The County of San Diego is going on bug patrol. This week, San Diego's Vector Control Program will drop its first batch of larvicides. The Vector Control Program will be focusing on 48 rivers, ponds, and other waterways in an effort to kill mosquito larvae. The use of the larvicide is to control the population of mosquitoes and protect the public from diseases that originate from them. The larvicide used is harmless to people and pets, but are still effective against larvae. And free larva-eating fish will be given to pool owners to help them prevent from becoming breeder grounds.
And is it going to be beach weather this weekend? David Pradell is here with more on the local forecast. How's it looking, David?
Yes, Billy and Marissa, it's going to be a warm weekend here in San Diego, but first let's get to our national forecast. Severe thunderstorms hitting the southern plains of the U.S., moving along the east coast, bringing a lot of heavy thunderstorms, flooding, and rain to areas of Oklahoma to Arkansas. And this system will continue to move east through Nashville to Washington, D.C., bringing rain this weekend as well and beginning of next weekend. But on the West Coast, it's a different story. For all those people who are going to Coachella, well, it's going to be beautiful weather for you guys, sunny skies, and make sure you bring a lot of water. Stay hydrated because it's going to be a hot one out in the desert. But let's go move on to our average temperatures here in San Diego of the day. Let me step out the way so you guys could see better. 64 degrees in La Jolla, Oceanside, 72 degrees. Down in the inland valleys, Poway, 75 degrees. And down in El Cajon, 70 degrees. And Chula Vista, 71 degrees. In the mountains, mid 60s, upper 70s, and in the desert like Ocotillo Wells, 84 degrees. So it's a hot one here in San Diego and San Diego County, and beautiful weather too in this month of April as well as we move on to next week, and spring weather is here and summer's just around the corner. But let's move on to tonight's lows. For those of you going out, enjoying San Diego, this was a peek of what you probably saw today. Sunny skies. This was a time-lapse shot in South Mission Beach. Beautiful weather. That's probably something you saw outside your window. And then tonight, if you're going out to enjoy the nightlife, well, 68 degrees, clear skies. It's going to be a little bit windy, so make sure you grab a coat later on tonight if you're going to be outside. But let's go to our 7-day forecast. 7-day forecast, tomorrow, Saturday, it's going to be a wonderful day. It's hot, sunny, perfect beach weather for sure here in San Diego, but be cautious. There is a sewage spill in Windasea Beach in La Jolla, so if you're thinking about going to the beach, well, you might want to maybe spend some time in the pool, or if you have a neighbor, you might want to maybe befriend them a little bit and be like, hey, can I come over and enjoy this beautiful weather? Grab your swim trunk, sunscreen, and chips and salsa. I don't know what else, but it's going to be a good weekend here in San Diego. And moving on to the other days in the week, well, partly cloudy on Monday, 69 degrees. Tuesday, 70 degrees. It is going to be a little cloudy Sunday, Monday, but it's going to clear up even better in the week. It's San Diego. It's going to be perfect. And this Sunday, if you're looking for things to do this weekend, well, this Sunday is the Earth Festival here in Balboa Park. And tomorrow, if you want to clean up this beautiful earth that we live on, well, near Mesa College and Tecolote Canyon, people will be cleaning up the canyons. So if you want to, go out in the morning, well, that would be pretty good to, go to and experience the sun. But that's all the time I have for weather. Back to you, Billy and Marissa.
Well, thank you so much for that, David. I'll definitely have to check that out. Cleaning the earth, that's great. Well, and a wide block party happened yesterday as nearly 600 students visited San Diego City College for the 4th annual Community Open House. Students from local San Diego middle schools, high schools, and continuing education took part in the campus tours and had the opportunity to step inside the classrooms for a taste of what the school has to offer.
But this college has always piqued my interest because I've heard my graphic design teacher talk about how it has it's one of the best graphic design schools to go to. So that would be it would help me step up my focus and what I'm doing right now.
I feel like our school has a lot to offer and a lot of people don't know about it.
Departments at City College had the chance to showcase their work and perform, like the cosmetology program, the dance program as well. And if you missed this year's student project and research symposium, the open house is scheduled annually for the 3rd Thursday of April.
And say goodbye to, actually, we're going to be saying goodbye. That wraps it up for this episode of Newscene. I'm Marissa Gonzalez.
And I'm Billy Kang.
And stay tuned next week for all of your local, national, and international news.
And we leave you with a dance clip from the open house yesterday. Enjoy.
Thank you.